Um, Camille, thank you so much for joining me on this. We've had an awesome connection for a while, and you saw one of the videos and were incredibly kind and supportive back. And I think something in you felt that this was a mission for you to an extent as well. So thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you very much, Idil, for introducing me. Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be in your show today, and hopefully we can provide a lot of value for men who are looking to get into business, who are looking to do the next step in their life. But very, very much thank you for having me.
Awesome. So tell everyone a little bit about you and your story.
Sure, absolutely. So obviously a lot happened before we actually met. For those of you who don't know, we met a few years ago. We met through one of those property investing courses, and we met like on a weekly basis. But my story just reaches like way before that. So my story is that I come from a family where it wasn't like a wealthy family. We were not the poorest family as well, just a regular family. My dad always worked. My mom always worked. Very busy people. My mom was always like, how a great housewife, and she was very, very hardworking as well. And I always thought that if you work hard in your life for somebody else, then you're going to be rewarded for that. You're going to have a nice, comfortable life. And I was always told to get a decent education. I was always told to go and find yourself a good job, get the salary, and have this nice, stable, and sort of continuous life, if you like. And the whole situation was absolutely fine. Like, I always felt that I wanted to be independent from the very early stages of my life. And my first job took place when I was, I think, 16 and a half, nearly 17. It was a job in a Danone factory, yogurts. And I thought that I knew that I don't have to work because my mom and dad, they said that they'll pay for my university, they'll pay for my college and everything. But I felt that I want to be independent. So I always wanted to work like from Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday spend at the uni. So I was also quite busy when I started working.
So,
Um,
sorry to interrupt, and I do want this to be all about you. So, your background, you're Polish. This was all in Poland. Your upbringing. Yeah.
That's absolutely correct. Because yes, I didn't mention that I originally come from Poland. So yes, that all happened when I was in Poland. Now, I moved to the UK when I was 22, I believe, and my life was just completely like changing at that time. I felt a little bit frustrated because my workplace was not giving me what I wanted. I think I kind of stopped with my progression. I didn't feel that I'm being challenged anymore. My relationship came to an end at that time, and the opportunity came to come to the UK. And I took the opportunity. I bought myself a return ticket. Initially, it was meant to be like a 2 week sort of trip to UK to just see how things go. But within them 2 weeks, I visited my cousin, and I started looking for a job, and then within a week, I had a job here in the UK, and I never came back to Poland. So sad for my mom and dad because they felt gutted that I didn't come back. But hey, they also understood that this is a new opportunity for me in my life, and they accepted it. So that's how I started living in the UK.
How
One
old were
thing,
you at the time?
I was 22 when I took this step.
Cool. And that was how many years ago? As,
That was
really,
40 around 14 years ago.
okay, cool.
Yes. And so yeah, I remember the first day when I just landed, I left the airplane and people were just talking English around me. And I thought that my English was pretty good at that time because I was learning around 12 years from my sort of normal school education. I always had that English language at school, and I thought it's pretty good. But when I started talking to native people, I learned that my English is nowhere as good as I expected it to be. And I thought I knew that the journey in the UK will be harder than I thought from the very beginning. That's how it all started. I was terrified. I was, oh, yes, I was definitely terrified and scared. That's how it
Okay,
all started.
cool. And so that's kind of your journey and story. And then obviously this is all about the inner journey, and
Yeah.
because in the sense that what happens inside is determines what we see outside and what people see, but most importantly what we experience and the results. It's like the roots and the shoots. So let's, in terms of who are you as a person, say at that point when you'd come over and then the unplanned stay, who were you at that point if we take a snapshot, and how did you as a person and your psyche and your mentality, how did that grow and change, and were there any big turning points in that?
Yeah, a very good question. So that on that day when I landed in the UK for the first time and for the first day, I was terrified. I was scared, and I felt that all I can do in my life is really just to work to get myself a nice stable job, because that mentality was still with me. It's something that it's very difficult to change, especially if you haven't got the right sort of support, if you haven't got the right mentor. And I thought that I'm going to carry on like that till the end of my days, to be honest. I thought I'm going to just end up in the normal 9 to 5 job, have a normal sort of house, wife, um, beautiful children. And that's what I thought at that time. And that was the case for the next few years, to be honest with you. I found myself a solid job, stable job. I started making better money as I progressed through my sort of career path. At that time, I was a quality inspector in aerospace company. And then I kind of like stayed within the aerospace business, and I changed a few jobs to eventually become a production engineer. So progressing through my journey, I learned that I don't have to be just a normal, regular working guy. I can be somebody more. And at that point, I started exploring different avenues of investing into property. The and at that time I was already married, because the girl who I left in Poland, she came and joined me soon after I left Poland, and 2 years later we got married. So now we've got a beautiful son. But
Yeah,
together,
I've had the pleasure of meeting your lovely family. Yeah.
yeah, it was absolutely lovely to meet you in Leicester, I believe, that we met, and it was great
And you,
experience as well.
yes, yeah.
So going back to 2015, this is where me and my wife we bought a first house. That was our residential house, and we always knew that this is the way forward. If we wanted to buy more property, that's going to set us for a bit of a better life in the future. And that's how we started investing. We bought a first property, like investment property, in 2017, and then the next one in 2020. But then I started to explore that if I take this avenue, things will not progress in the pace that I wanted it to progress. And I thought there has to be something more in life than just, saving, deposits, buying property, and so on and so on. Because on average, I would buy a property every 3 years, and it would take me a long time to build a decent portfolio. And I started exploring different sort of courses, mentorship programs, etc. And that's how I came across my education. That kind of started showing me that it can start, like, it can be more dynamic. There are different strategies that I can implement. And this is where my mindset started shifting. And I knew that if I put in all the hard work and I get the knowledge, things will start changing in my life. And at that point, I thought, maybe even one day I'm not going to have to be employed anymore. I can run my own business or multiple businesses, and it doesn't have to be the same like my parents used to be, working like from 9 to 5, from early days till their retirement, because that's boring to me.
Right, fantastic. And so it's wonderful to hear about your entrepreneurial journey and your shift from the employee uh, lifestyle and mindset and life, and to an entrepreneurial one. So shifting a little bit now to kind of what happens here and here for you as a person, for you as a man, which is really, as man-made mojo, what we're dedicated towards. So what has been your toughest and darkest moment, Kamil?
I would say the toughest moment was, I think, when I changed the environment completely when I moved from Poland to the UK. I think this was definitely the toughest moment in my life, because you're changing completely everything in your life. You know, you haven't got your family like behind you. You haven't got your a close family like mom and dad. You haven't got you know, the language is a barrier. You know, it's a completely new culture. You don't know those people, and the new place, everything around you is like completely new. I think not everybody could sort of cope with it. This was one of the biggest challenges that I managed to successfully overcome. And I have to admit that at that point, because I already had some good sort of ability to speak English, it very quickly allowed me to sort of stand out from other people, other foreign people who couldn't speak language. And in my first workplace, I was like getting more challenged, and I was setting up different procedures and documentation because I had this ability to use that language. Um, the biggest win, however, I would say, was to completely quit my 9 to 5 life, my corporate life, and within one day, like finishing everything, putting a stop to it, and starting a completely new chapter in my life, which is my business life. And I think the biggest drive for me at that time was to do it for myself and for my family. I know it sounds very cliche, and a lot of people will say, I'm doing this for my family, and I honestly do it for my family, but I also do it for myself, because I want to become more. I want to become the asset. I don't want to be just a person who's like consuming and existing and breathing. I want to be somebody who provides something in exchange for being able to walk on this planet. I want to give people back what I already know about property, what I already know how people can actually make a very good living using a very exciting strategy called rent to rent. This is what I'm coaching and mentoring in right now. And right now I feel that I'm 100% fulfilled, because I feel there are things in my life that I can give back to, and obviously I want to give back to people right now, because I got the opportunity back in the day.
Incredible, really inspiring, and I hope it motivational, and I hope that that's filling people up. So, what is it? Where do you find the fulfillment now that you didn't feel before?
Yeah, very good question, Hitul. So I would say, first things first, if you're working in a factory, manufacturing plant, where when I was a production engineer, and before when I was a quality inspector, what I was doing, I was either inspecting parts, I was inspecting fasteners, or then when I was a production engineer, I was just like working in the same place every day to improve the processes, meet suppliers, and so on and so on. And it was interesting to a point, but I felt that I didn't see the results of my job, if that makes sense. I understood that at the end of the day,
Yeah,
the
sorry
manufacturer.
to interrupt. Was it like you're a cog in a wheel, just a part in a machine?
Exactly, exactly. You cannot see the final result. I didn't see those fasteners going into the aircraft, you know. I realized that, but I didn't see it. I didn't see the results of my work.
Yes.
And that's what kind of stopped me, or sort of started me thinking that I want to do something that will have a
You
direct
see the
impact on other
fruits. You
people's
see the
lives.
yes, yeah. You see the realization in the way that as parents we see our children grow up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's correct. And beforehand, I was not even thinking I'm going to be coaching and mentoring people. But when I started sort of talking to people, people started asking me questions. When once I started running a successful renter and portfolio, there was a lot of inquiries, a lot of questions coming from people on my social media. Oh, how did you do this? Like, how could I do that, etc. And I was like, maybe this is my path. Like, would I be able to handle it? How would I structure it? And this is where my wife came in, and she said, you know what, you should really go for it, because I think you're going to be good at it. She
Wow.
supported me on that journey, and I found my own mentor in order to get the structure and everything, to plan everything in a way that I can really be the most productive and the best version of myself. And
I'm
that's
just
what
going to
gave me the
pause.
motivation.
Sorry, I will come in at points. So I'm going to pause there. I'll pause you there because for me there was some really vital gems and which might add value to people. The doubts and fears. Let's get into that a little bit.
Mm.
Talk to me about the doubts and fears, and then later we can talk about the role your wife played. So, and I'll ask you what a kind of a question around that. So, tell me about the doubts and fears, what they were, how did you respond? Were you anxious about it, or?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the whole fear started when I bought the ticket to the UK, because you're starting a new life, right? And across different sort of chapters in our lives, we're going to face different fears. We're going to face different challenges. And this is what happened exactly in my life. You know, when I was facing new environment and new life in the UK, I was afraid that I'm not going to be able to communicate. I was afraid that I'm not going to be able to find myself in the new society. I was questioning myself if I'm going to be able to drive the car on the other side of the road. You know, later on, different things happened. Like, you know, I had this opportunity to quit my full-time job, start my business, and new fears appeared. Like, what if I fail? Like, what if I don't provide? What if I how will other people look at me if I fail? Um, there was a lot of anxiety associated with it. But at the same time, I
How
knew
bad,
that
how
everybody.
bad did the anxiety? Sorry, how bad did the anxiety get?
So anxiety is that feeling that sort of paralyzes you, right? You just feel that you're not going to be able to break through. On the flip side, everybody who's like wealthy in life, people who achieve tremendous success, they say that the difference between the successful people and those who are not as successful is that we all feel fear. We are all anxious about new things in our life, but we still have to do it regardless, especially if you know what you're doing. And that's what sort of pushed me forward with the support of my wife, who said to me, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna manage this." That's what really triggered me. Like my wife, who supported me, supporting life of your close family. I think this is the number one factor that will drive you forward. Family, friends, the closest people in your life, if they drag you down, it's going to be very difficult and challenging for you to make a step forward. And
What
definitely
if,
it's going to be
what,
far. Yeah.
absolutely. So what if, sorry, I think you were mid-flow, but what if, can you imagine how you would have handled it or the scenario had you because you had plus, right? You had lots of positive.
Yeah.
The other scenario can be where it's neutral and there isn't support. And the other scenario, which you referred to, is where it's a negative and they're dragging you down. So can you imagine or being in that scenario, or what would that have been like had you been in the position where your closest family and friends, including your wife, had been dragging you down and putting you off?
Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. I would say 100%. Whatever does not serve you in your life, just cut it away. Just get rid of it in your life. If
But
even if that's
what
your
do you
close
do if that
family.
comes from the people who are closest to you? Apparently, well, I heard there's a quote: "Friends are God's way of apologizing for your family." Right.
Yeah.
So, but what if it's, say it's your wife, say it's your brother, say it's your sister, your parents? How easy is it to end those relationships, or distance, or cut those away?
Yeah, it wouldn't be easy. Depends on who's the person, like, you know, who I'm referring to. But if it's your mom or your dad, you know, although, you know, they never kind of said to me don't do it, but at the same time they never say like go for it 100%. They were like kind of neutral. They didn't stop me, and I did not speak to them about this. And with my friends as well, I didn't expect them to understand what I'm looking to do. The only person who was on board was my wife. If my wife at that time said to me, "Don't do it because you're not going to manage," etc., etc., it would be very, very challenging. I would have to work around this in the first place to make sure that she's on board with me before I start doing something. Because if the nearest person, closest person in your life is kind of like holding you back, then it's always going to be like a rock on your ankle, right? It's you won't be able to shoot up. But maybe you should ask yourself a question: is that person right for you in the first place? Because if that person cannot support you on your goals and your plans, then maybe this person is not even the right person for you. I believe
Wow,
that your
that's
partners, your
massive.
wives, your husbands, they should all support a better version of ourselves.
That's
that's
massive.
that's exactly what happened to me. I faced the opportunity to become the asset, become a better version of myself, and my wife was 100% on board with me.
Yeah, two things come up, and we'll get to the asset bit in a moment. But so you refer to something massive. So if they're not supporting you, maybe they're not the right person for you. Now that obviously is I'm not saying I disagree with it, but it has massive implications. And I imagine people will be in that position where, you get married with the intention of it being forever. And then circumstances can happen. And even there can be kind of changes where there is a mismatch. So, yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Well, the thing is, your partner, your husband, your wife, this is the only person that you choose in your life. Like, you don't choose your parents, you don't choose your children. They are who they are. Your partner is the one person who you're choosing, and I think we very often find ourselves a partner who might be not the right person, but we don't know about that just yet, right? All our life, we're just looking for this right partner until we don't find them. I think that generally speaking, this would be one of the main sort of tests in life, if the partner is right for you. And I think the best thing you can do is to start living with the partner, and then you'll see this person is like the right person for you or not. But other thing is, if they support you in everything that you're planning to do, and going back to what I said before, look, if they support you all the way through, then this person will be always holding you back for good and for bad. This is what you pretty much say when you're getting married with somebody.
When you say holding you back, you mean they'll support you, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Like
okay,
if
yeah,
there
yeah,
is
yeah.
somebody
They'll have
holding
your
you
back.
back,
Yes,
they'll
yeah, yeah, they'll
support
have
you,
your
they'll
back.
hold you
Yes,
back.
yeah.
Yes.
They won't hold you back, but they'll support you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they have your back, yeah.
You have your back. Yeah. Opposite to holding you back. Sorry, I didn't mean to correct you.
No problem at all. Look, English is not my native language, and I'm not perfect
Your
at what I'm
English is
doing.
so much better than my Polish, which is my native.
The reality is that I even made a little sort of reel about that the other day. That a lot of people look for this perfection when they start doing and taking action from the very beginning. In my opinion, it's all about progression over perfection. Don't look to start something when it's all perfect and all the stars are lined up on the sky. No, don't wait for it. Just start something and then aim towards perfection. Improve every single
Is
day.
there such a thing? Is there such a thing as perfection?
I think there is no such thing. That what you can do is, obviously, there is a way towards perfection, right? So there is a continuous improvement. I believe in that. I believe there is no such thing as perfection. Nobody's perfect, or no process is perfect. No car is perfect. No airplane is perfect, and there is always room for improvement.
Yeah, my take on that is uh, continuous improvement, as you said, and have a very clear set of values and know what they are. And I think over
Yeah,
time, certainly in my case, my values have become more and more important, clear to me, and I know what they are. Um, which is why, for example, if I've got work to do, my daughter needs dropping off to college, or I have to make a smoothie for her, that jumps up on my values because I know what my values are. I know that's a
yeah,
one-off event that will impact her day, and so I think for me, it's having these values very clear,
yeah,
and in terms of what we want to achieve and the direction we want to go in, they will be our guideposts. They will be our sort of pointers
yeah,
in terms of where we want to go and what we want to achieve, and within that, continuous improvement. So I guess this is all for another day. We'll focus more on your story, but it's I think the idea that there's no such thing as perfection is something I subscribe to, because and another thing is lowering the bar. So I think, and it's something with so many guys and so many people, is that we set such a high bar, and by definition, you're increasing the chances of failing or not meeting that. So
yeah.
lower the bar, keep taking action every day in the direction of what you want, and keep registering the wins. And I think we really we sync and resonate on that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the reality is that every man has to make some choices in life, right? This is all about being a man. We cannot be afraid to make decisions, and sometimes those decisions will be easier, sometimes they will be harder. But one decision that you're facing at some point in life is, for example, if you want to start a business or if you want to develop yourself as a person, right? If that's something that you're struggling with, then perhaps you need some help and you need to have this guidance and mentorship in order to be able to make those decisions. Because once you make that decision, then do not look for that perfection. Start today and look for that continuous improvement every single day.
Absolutely, sounds good. So, in terms of what we're doing as Man-Made Mojo, it's a mission to serve at least 1 million guys globally to get out of the pain, get out of the get things that are going on here and here, get them out and find
Yeah,
strength through vulnerability. And the driving statistic, the painful statistic, is that 70% of suicides are men.
that's mental.
Yeah. Women out emotion us. They get, if there were two straight couples, then the guys would get through less in an hour than the women do in 5 minutes. And even if guys get together, if it's a brother, cousin, best friend, and they catch up, often a lot of the things that need to be said don't, which is one of the reasons for doing a podcast. And we've kind of been into some detailed and vulnerable stuff, but I think the benefit of this medium is that it allows us to get into parts that other medium or other things wouldn't be able to do. So it's been awesome what you've shared so far. And so in terms of your the support from your wife, so tell me a little bit about that. And you've kind of said things about it, and how did it specifically help you, and how does it feel looking back at that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we covered the scenario when somebody's not supporting you, then bloody hell, you're on your way to success and you don't even realize that. Because if that one person is cheering you up and if that one person is supporting you, then you've got literally nothing or nobody to hold you back, which means that you can unveil your potential 100%. You're capable of doing things that you never imagined. Now it's just that you've got this green light and you know that now nothing can stop you. Be clear on your goals,
Wow.
understand how you're going to achieve this, and then utilize that support and do it not just for you, but for them as well. Because they give you that their support. Now show them, okay, you gave me that support. I'll show you what I can do, and you're going to benefit from this as well.
Incredible. Can you think of times where, and maybe we can focus on one where you had self-doubt, and
Mm.
how, tell us about that, and what was it like, and how did you handle it?
Mm. Yeah, I I would say that the doubt number one that I had was when I really started my rent-to-rent business, and when I started, I was still in my full-time employment. Okay, when I had my first deal secured, I then handed over my notice, and I was on a 1 month notice period. But in that time, just before I was meant to pick up the keys, 2 days before picking up the keys to the property, the landlord came back to me and they said that they're no longer happy to proceed with the deal because they checked the mortgage conditions and we could no longer go ahead with the deal.
Wow.
So I pretty much had nothing to go ahead with, and I was on the notice period in my job. So when I quit, when I left, I literally had nothing. All I had was supporting a wife and kind of a bet with my wife that in 6 months' time I'm going to be able to replace my salary using rent to rent strategy. That was a biggest challenge and the drive and motivation at the same time.
Who
So
who
this was
who
my
laid
biggest
that
fear at
bet?
that
Who,
time.
sorry to interrupt you. Who laid that bet? Where did that who said about that 6 month thing?
Yeah, that was something that we came up commonly. Like, when I
Yeah,
was quitting
jointly.
my job, I said, you know what? Because there has to be a beginning and a stop to it. If I manage to secure enough property so I can exceed my salary within 6 months, then that's great. If not, I'm going back to a normal full time, but at least I'm not going to have any regrets in my life that I didn't try. That's what when my wife said, I'm going to support you all the way, and we have obviously money to cover our living expenses for that time. That's absolutely no problem. So if you need anything from me, just let me know and I'll help you. And so she was kicking my butt every day, And I was not stopping. I was all the time. I was like work, work, work. And it's a very difficult thing at the same time, because if you worked as an employee for many, many years, then you've got this mindset of somebody telling you what to do. All of a sudden, you've got this instant shift and you're making all the decisions. Nobody's telling you what to do. You need to plan your day. You need to plan your action plan. You need to fill it up. And it was a very, very strange thing to sort of come to terms with for the next for 2 3 months. I felt a little bit like alienized, if that makes sense. But I came to terms with it and understood that now I'm the boss and I'm making up all the rules and nobody else is coming to help me. It's either I make it or I fail it.
Growth comes outside of our comfort zone, right?
Absolutely, 100%. If you cannot clinch it, then unfortunately you're not going to be able to make it.
So, and it may be that or another instance. So, just what we said about the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Is that something that you resonate with in terms of the comfort zone idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Sorry.
funny you mention it
If it
because
is, then I can ask you something based on that.
no, absolutely. I think comfort zone is the one of the main killers for people's dreams and for their desire to success, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of being comfortable. And this is what we're programmed to be. Like our mind, our brain is programmed for us to be comfortable. And a lot of men these days, unfortunately, fall into this trap. So they avoid harder decisions, harder things in their life because they just feel so good within their comfort zone. But unfortunately, the reality is that if you want to change something in your life, then every change in your life, it's happening outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
It's nothing will change if you stay in the same place. If you expect change in your life, you need to change your comfort zone. Do something that's uncomfortable to you, because then you start doing things that you haven't done in the past.
Right. Incredible. Thank you so much. Now, probing that, because this sets us up so nicely to talk about men and what we're not comfortable with. I'm almost picturing a few comfort zones, one over here. And if you're listening to this, you won't see my hand is up to the left, and one over here, my hand's to the right. And one might be the one on the left might be the professional or business work comfort zone, which
Yeah.
I think by nature, in our DNA, it's go out, hunt. I'm vegetarian, but come back with a dead animal over your shoulder to feed the family and be the provider. And I still think personally that drives us. And as with women, and in my view, that when women look for it in a straight situation, look for a partner. Can he look after me? Can he protect me? Can he provide me for me? Will he be a good sort of father for my children? I think these things drive women.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the comfort zone thing. So where emotions, ego, these are the areas that we are about helping men, serving them, and increasing their comfort zones. So, what's been your process and journey around? How has your comfort zone changed and grown over the last, over life really to this point?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think the comfort zone, you can sort of mark it in as a little circle on a paper. And then once you start doing things that are uncomfortable in your life and you make them habits, I think this is where that circle grows. I think just doing something for once will still not make you sort of grow as a person. But if you make it a habit, if you repeat that task or this activity over and over again, this is where you naturally become better at something. And one of the examples I can give is when I started looking for my first rent-to-rent deal, I felt very uncomfortable on the phone. Obviously, one of the reasons is that English is not my native language, but I felt that generally speaking, as an introvert, it was a challenging task for me. But I found myself the courage because I knew there was that bet, and I really wanted to make this work. So that was at that time stronger than that anxiety. I made my first phone call. That was, by the way, not great at all, But hey ho, that's okay. Because
Anything worth doing is worth doing badly.
absolutely 100%. That's what I'm saying about the progression
That's
of
not me. That's
progression.
someone else. I can't remember who it was, but it's a great maxim.
I love it. I love it because I'm living with that sort of I'm living with the same idea, with the same concept. So I start the next phone call was a little bit better, and then the next phone call was better, and so on and so on. And I started having decent conversations,
But
and all of a
without
sudden
the
I
first
started
few stinkers, you wouldn't have got to the good ones.
100%. 100%. If you want to be good at something, don't be afraid to start with having a poor result, but be prepared that at the beginning you won't be good at it. Just repeat and repeat and repeat. Make it a good habit. That's where you grow, and that's how you overcome different challenges in life. You becoming a stronger person will help you with the different avenues in life, and becoming
Resilience.
stronger on
Yeah,
its own.
you're speaking to resilience there.
Yep.
So yeah, finish what you're saying, and then I want you to get on to resilience, which is like for me a superpower. Yeah, you were saying.
Hmm. Yeah, and by the way, we as men, as human beings, just because we are men does not mean that we don't feel emotions. We are very emotional human beings as well. It's just sometimes we're not as good at expressing those emotions as women, for example, but it doesn't mean that we don't feel those emotions. So do not be afraid to talk about your emotions. If you feel that something is bothering you, just say this. Do not keep things inside of you, especially if you've got this supporting partner. Just talk to them, and it really helps to keep your mindset healthy, not to keep everything inside of you because this can be really toxic.
Why do you think men find it difficult to talk about their emotions?
I think it's very much about egos, about having this masculinity in men's kind of way of existing and being. It's times are different. Like, we don't have to live in those cave times where we, as you said before, we had to hunt in order to provide for our families. Now we create households, we create families, we have people who support us. We don't have to be alone on the journey. And same thing is with women. Like they're no longer this person who's only just raising kids, because women are much stronger these days. So I think the whole game of life can be won as the collective, as the family, not as being just one person. If you haven't got a partner, then okay, that's fine. You have to become strong on your own. But if you've got this partner, if you've got wife, if you've got children, then this is ultimately your biggest strength, and utilize that in your favor.
Incredible. Something that resonates with me, and you said about if you don't have a partner, it set me off on a thought of the most important person and your most important relationship in life is with yourself.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree with it. Even if you're married, I think this ultimately who you are reflects on how other people perceive you. So it all starts
What I
within
was
you.
referring to was that forget everyone else.
Hmm.
You always have you. We always
Always,
did when we were,
always. Yes.
and with a lot of entrepreneurs, it can be a lonely journey.
Yeah.
Certainly until we have an office, or we have employees, and in some people's cases their business involves them engaging with clients or physically traveling. But for a lot of people, even that side of it can be largely remote, digital, desk based. Whether that desk is a third bedroom, a desk somewhere, or the kitchen table, or an office. So it can be a lonely journey. So that's what
Yeah.
I was getting at. So our relationship with ourselves. There's a great book. What do you say when you talk to yourself? I think I can't remember the author. So that, I think, self talk is so important. So how what have you got to say on that in terms of what do you say when you talk to yourself, and what did you used to say? What did the old Camille used to say to himself?
Well, that is a good question. I think back in the day, my internal script to myself was just to be comfortable, just to work, 9 to 5, etc., etc. That would be the old me before I left Poland, and even the first years within the UK, that was old me. Right now, if you speak to me, I always push my students, I always push my mentees to do things that they haven't done in the past. For example, people are very skeptical or maybe anxious about using social media when they go into property. I always encourage them to go on social media, because not only it will help them to become extrovert, like, stepping away from being this introvert, but it also allows them to create new opportunities for them. So my internal language nowadays, right now, is simply, there is no boundaries. Like, if you want to do something, just go ahead and do it. And who said to you, or who said to me, that I cannot reach my dreams, whatever the dreams are? Like, back in the day, I would be compromising on my dreams because I thought I wanted to make them more realistic. Nowadays, I'm thinking to myself, why would I? Why would I compromise on something that I truly want? If my son came to me and he said, I want to be an astronaut, would I say to him, oh, stop dreaming because it's unrealistic? No, I will absolutely say and support him 100%. Go ahead and do it. You can be whoever you are.
And that's going to drive him. Yeah, if that's it,
Yeah.
that's I completely buy into that. Our education system tries to drum things into kids, and
Yeah.
if you're trying to make the next Vivaldi or the next musical genius, if you're
Yeah.
trying to push them into a conventional job, or if their genius hasn't been unlocked. So it's wonderful to hear you say that.
No, absolutely. And if we do that for our children, why would we not do the same thing for ourselves? So dream big. Do dare to dream big, because only then you can open up your mind and you're more open to get outside of your comfort zone as well.
Incredible.
Mm.
So and talking about comfort zone and stretching the comfort zone, um, can you think of how you as a person, because I've seen you grow and flourish, and it's wonderful. It kind of it makes my heart sing when I see anyone grow and flourish, and I try and have a positive impact on everyone's life, from the person who serves me at a shop to friends or anyone. So and it's been
Yeah.
wonderful to see you flourish. So um, how how does a change in the comfort zone, if someone does something, what's that process when they say, for a man, when he goes outside his comfort zone to open up about what's going on, or say, for example, even ask someone. There's a campaign in the UK a while ago saying, called Ask Him Twice, and obviously the standard conversation is, oh, how you doing? I'm fine, I'm good, laugh and joke. And that person might be going through all sorts of hell in their life, or
Yeah.
they might be wondering whether life's worth living, and that's just a fact. These
True.
statistics come from somewhere. So
Yes.
um, the comfort zone for me, the greatest comfort zone for men, as well as all the achievement things and being confident and going on social media, but what the main comfort zone that we're focused and dedicated on is the emotional one, the internal one. So what do you have any experience or advice for men to increase that, to be more vulnerable? Because our definition of masculinity is about strength through vulnerability. So
Yeah.
how can we get men being stronger and more vulnerable and increasing their comfort zone in those areas?
Mm. That is a very good question. I think going back to what we discussed a little bit earlier, I would give everybody advice, because nowadays the world is much more open. We can live with our partners should be also our best friends. We should really just be able to talk about our emotions. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of true power. Look, if you can talk about your emotions, then it just means that you're emotional savvy. Um, if you hold everything inside of you, then, as I said before, it's toxic. It will blow you up sooner rather than later. This is where all the mental problems are coming from, because we cannot express our emotions. If we can, however, if we talk to people, other people will have a completely different view on things. They can very often give us very good advice. They can push us. They can help us, and it just naturally makes us feel good when we say something. It feels like we release that big burden of our shoulders. So make sure that you talk to people. Don't hold it inside of you just because you've got massive ego and just because you want you want to keep this masculinity inside of you. Masculinity, definition of masculinity nowadays is completely different than it was 10,000 years ago.
Incredible. Yeah, and you've really got to the heart of the things that we're looking at and probing and really opening the conversation about. And I had a friend kindly thank me for leading the conversation in his words. And so I thought, yeah, this is what's needed, for us to lead the conversation, to create a movement. And just to, before I ask you the final question, we're really about creating a space, a container, a place where we say, it's okay, open up. You can leave your brave, strong, kind of Jack the Lad persona outside. You can come in here and open up. Yeah, whether that's in a post, a private group post, or whether it's to people you've connected with, or there'll be local groups as well, whether it's someone in your local group, open up. And then there's the learning and support and programs to help people then really unleash and discover their power. And just to share briefly, Man-Made Mojo has come about from my journey. I never got to the darkest points of not wanting to live anymore, but my 20-year journey, I've concentrated it into something called a transformation X-ray. It's available free. People can start, they can take everything I've struggled through. I put it into a package, step-by-step walkthrough, and I've tried to be there for you, even though I'm not. So go to enoughstress.com, enoughstress.com. You'll be able to get that, or via our website. So that was something which was for sale, but I decided I want to open this up and get as many men as possible started, because we're bad enough at this anyway. Get them started, get on board, and get other people involved. So that's my soapbox bit for Man-Made Mojo. So just to finish up, time is running away from us. What's your final thought or piece of advice for men in terms of we almost feel like we need another episode, but the redefining masculinity and finding strength through being an open, vulnerable man?
Very good question, and the answer will be, I could go on and on about this, but I would say, everybody, you mentioned before about the values. I think first of all we need to understand our core values and live alongside those values. I think the worst thing you can do in your life is to really have strong values but then live against them, so your actions are not sort of going in line with your values. If you live a life full of alignment with your values, there will not be a friction. Emotionally, you're going to be absolutely fine. You're going to become a stronger person day in, day out. And do not be afraid to dream big as well. Just if you dream about a nice, lovely, big business, then go ahead and start planning it. Just start taking the steps towards it, because then if you want something really badly, this is a priority in your life, and you will live life of working towards getting your goals. Then you will feel happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction in life, and these emotions are critical in order to live a very good and strong life. But if you dream big but you don't do anything about it, and every day you're going to feel frustrated that there was another day you haven't taken a step forward, you one day closer to your death, because we all live like certain lifespan, of course. And the frustration is just creeping up. So whatever you do, live alongside your values.
Wonderful. And you've inspired me in what you've said, and I'll enjoy listening to this. So, and I really hope and pray that this serves other people as well. And so you're almost pointing towards a definition where we have our cake and eat it, right? Where we have the growth and the achievement and the business and financial success and the freedom that comes with that, but then also on the other side, the emotional, the internal, the growth, and almost a redefined masculinity. And that feels like really having our cake and eating it in terms of the success, achievement, rewards side, and also the fulfillment, alignment, and emotional richness side. And So thank you so much for painting that vision out and almost making it feel possible that we can have both. And that just really nicely wraps up why we're here and what we're here to enable guys to do.
No, absolutely, and I'm supporting you on your cause like 100% because I think we don't talk about those things strong enough. There is not enough of that. Everybody's talking about different problems, but mainly in the females world. But men have emotions as well, and we should be talking about those things. Men can have problems as well, as you said. Statistically, it's 70% of men commit suicide. So it just shows how.
Sorry, really important clarification before our time comes to an end.
Yeah.
Of suicides, 70% are men.
Yeah, okay. So that's exactly what I meant. And then yeah, so it just shows that men have got emotions, they have problems as well. So I support you 100%, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this show.